Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by just two of the boys, Kyle and Matt. And fellas, I had to remind myself kind of what the intro was. It has been a few weeks since we sat down to record.
Yes, it has.
And I blame a lot of that on just the fact that there's not a lot of games out right now. And the testament to that is that we're not talking about a game today. We are talking about a video game movie, and I don't know if it's too early to say this. I mean, I don't think it is when you look at the money that it's made. I would say the most successful in terms of quality and box office draw, about as successful as a video game adaptation has ever been in both of those, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. So, in a vacuum, let's just talk basic thoughts before we dive into like our specific thoughts on all of it. We all three loved the movie, right? We all three thought it was awesome, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
So this movie is a great example of, and we've seen a couple of these in recent years. I think the Batman last year was actually a very similar case where the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes was one thing and the audience score was something else entirely. This movie really goes to show that disconnect, because I remember when we went to see it,
Yes.
which was a few weekends ago at this point. We've been sitting on this for a minute. We've been waiting on Kyle to go see it, and thankfully he did. But when we went and saw it, it had, I think, a 54 critic score.
Yes.
Something like that. It was in the low to mid 50s. Which I think we expected. I think all three of us kind of expected it would be that'd be kind of the quality and the score we'd be looking at.
Yeah.
But the audience score was what caught our eyes, and it's the fact that it was, I think, a 96 at the time, and it got up to 98 at one point. I don't know if it dropped from 98 to 96 or vice versa, but it was a 98 at one point, and it was a 96 when we went and saw it. I don't know what the critics went into this movie expecting. And we're going to get this discussion out of the way now so we can rave about the movie because we loved it. Fellas, I don't know why, and Kyle, I'll let you talk about this first, because me and you have talked a lot about how people review things and how things are scored ultimately. I don't know how any critic went into this movie looking for some deep story or some deep narrative with deep characters. I really don't know what a lot of the critics were looking for in this movie, because this movie was awesome.
Yeah, really, I think that if you went to this movie expecting anything more than, just some good laughs and, really entertaining scenes, you were expecting too much. I mean, it's the Mario movie. We were here for the references, let's be honest, and there were plenty of them. I had a really good time with this movie just solely because I, think that I went in with low expectations and this movie exceeded it. I don't think that this movie needed a complex plot or deep characters. What it needed was to give me, jokes that landed. It needed good voice acting, which I think the entire cast did a great job. Chris Pratt, I was a little
agreed
hesitant on at first, but as he, as it went on, I kind of got used to it, and it didn't really bother me as much as I thought it would. So, really, I didn't have a lot to complain about with the movie. I think that, if you went in looking for, something that was just going to be entertaining, then you got exactly, that.
Fellas, I think when we've talked about this movie, I've said something every time, probably. Oh, I'm probably sick of hearing it. I had two objectives with this movie. Or I had two questions that I asked when it came to, talking about this movie to somebody else. Did it make me laugh? Did I have fun? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes to both. It's a funny movie. It's a lot of fun from start to finish. There's not a lot of down moments. There's not a lot of moments where you find yourself getting bored. Matt, talk about that a little bit more, because again, like, I feel like the expectations for this movie are so weird, and it's weird for every video game adaptation. We all, I think, had relatively high expectations for the Last of Us TV show, and it's almost crazy to think about having high expectations for that, because we've seen so many video game adaptations go wrong. Looking at like, for example, the Ratchet and Clank movie wasn't good. The Warcraft movie wasn't good. Like there are so many examples of video game movies not working out. What, in your opinion, made this one work? Ratchet and Clank is the easiest one to compare it to because it's a similar tone, similar animation. What do you think made this work versus another animated film based on a video game?
Well, I'm going to say this. One name alone is the reason as to why this movie turned out the way it did. Shigeru Miyamoto has worked very closely on this project, and obviously he is the godfather of Mario. He's the father. He gave us
Yes.
Mario. So him working so close to it, and what's crazy is he was working with Illumination Studios on this movie at the same time as he was working with Universal Studios to get the Nintendo theme park section up and running. So this man, this is why he hasn't really popped up in directs as much as he used to. He's outside of Nintendo, and Mario being the staple franchise with Nintendo's. When you think Nintendo, you think Mario. There's so many games throughout the years that everyone's grown up with. So there is a reference here for everybody except for Mario Sunshine. I'm so sorry, Kyle.
I say I know that is probably Kyle's biggest complaint. Is that Sunshine was not referenced.
Nothing.
Which I mean,
Nothing.
for Sunshine like that, I can understand being disappointed that it was not referenced.
Yeah, it was not. Not even in the end credits when they played a song from just about every mainline Mario game. Not even.
He's rubbing it in.
Not even a character who originated on the island Delfino. Nothing from Mario Sunshine is here. But it's just the fact that they used with Shigeru Miyamoto being so close to the project, he knows all the references. He knows all the iconic, villains we fought. And I think what really sold this movie is the fact that each of the voice actors put their personality into it, regardless. Like, come on, Jack Black as Bowser is a human.
Killed it. Absolutely killed it.
He nailed that role, and I love the fact that he was so attached to it. Like, he even showed up on TV interviews dressed up as Bowser. Like when he went to the on the red carpet, he had a complete like tuxedo tailor made for him with like little spikes on the back to look like Bowser's shell. And like everybody, beforehand said, we all had our doubts about Chris Pratt, but the thing was, and I think that the trailers are doing their best possible way to hide his voice, because we got like a little couple of sentences, but it didn't really give us what we thought Chris Pratt was going to sound like. So I think he exceeded expectations. Forgive me for forgetting the actress who played Peach. It's Anna Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy. No, just Joy, not Joyce. Joy.
Joy, gotcha. Yeah, she took the role of Peach and made it her own. Like Peach, like we're not gonna lie, none of these characters have a personality. They're video game characters who are basically going through the same, Bowser kidnapping and Peach storylines. So we don't really have characterization outside of a really terrible cartoon on Saturday morning for Mario and Luigi. So the fact that all the voice actors, not just the main cast, but everybody who's in this movie made the character their own. And on top of that, just the whole combination came together beautifully.
Yeah, I want to say this, that there were two voices that were overly criticized, in my opinion, when it came to like the way people reviewed this movie. One was Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, and I'm gonna say what I've said every time since when I've seen this. The most we have ever heard Peach say is "What's that?" So let's not sit here and act like we have a bunch of voices to go off of for what Peach should sound like. Let's
her
not
side
act
being
like that.
Smash.
Exactly. Let's here we go. Like that's all we ever hear. Like we don't hear that much from Peach ever. So I don't know why people were overly critical of her. I thought she did a great job. And the other one, and this one shocked me, the moment that he came into the movie, the one that shocked me that people were critical of, Seth Rogen is Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
He was awesome. That was exactly what I pictured Donkey Kong sounding like. Now it was a little weird at one point hearing Seth Rogen's laugh coming from Donkey Kong. That was a little bit of an immersion breaker. But you can't tell me that he didn't ham it up every time he was on screen and that he wasn't great. Like, skipping ahead, and spoiler alert, if you didn't know, we're talking about spoilers in this, so this is your chance to clue in. Now, when they get swallowed up by the damn eel, like him and Mario going back and forth in the damn belly of the eel. One of the funniest scenes in the entire film when Mario's talking about his dad loving him and being proud of him, and Donkey Kong goes, "Yeah, you're right. He's right to not be proud of you." Like, I don't know why. It was just hysterical, though. It was exactly how you think those two would interact. So, talking about the story briefly, because obviously it has one, we do have to talk about it, and I think the story works for the context and the frame of this movie. I think that in another movie, the story might be a little underwhelming, but I thought this story fit really, really well. The story of Bowser looking and finding the superstar. I don't know, Matt, you're the Mario or you're the Nintendo expert here.
Yeah.
The location where he finds the superstar, I don't know if it's a named location, but I'll let you tell me if it is.
It's not exactly a location that's been in the games, but it is referenced to Snow Mountain on Mario 64 with the penguins.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, the penguins are funny as hell too. Like literally every character that has any kind of line in this movie at some point made me laugh.
Yeah, it's
Like
true.
we'll talk about one specific character that really stole the show in a bit. That for a children's movie had some really dark lines, but it was really funny. But Kyle, again, I feel like this story works. It's very, very simple, and I feel like it was very important to keep this kind of story simple.
Yes, I really commend them for not doing just the classic, oh, Bowser kidnapped Peach. Like, it was cool seeing, it was more so about Bowser, using the superstar to really, try and woo Peach into marrying him, and then, him wanting to destroy Mushroom Kingdom. Luigi was the one who actually got captured for quite a while there, and it was different. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just, Bowser kidnaps Peach and Mario has to go save her. I really like how they kind of twisted it, made it its own thing. But now all I want is a Luigi's Mansion movie. I need a whole movie with Luigi in it.
Yes.
I hadn't thought of that. That would be pretty awesome.
This movie did not have enough Luigi in it. I need more.
Charlie Day killed it, dude. He was
Yes.
awesome.
I loved the interactions between Chris Pratt and Charlie Day. Like they really personified Mario and Luigi, and I felt like they pulled it off from the very beginning. Although also it was very interesting seeing like the rest of the Mario family, like his mom and his dad and the other brothers. I was like,
and finding
really
out
shocked
he
to
has
see.
mushrooms, like
Yes!
weird little backstory stuff like that. Yeah,
That was so
Yeah.
funny. That was such a funny little, bit. And this movie really, I think, is just pure joy. It had
Yes.
so many references in it, except for my beloved Mario Sunshine, which they better put something in there in the second movie, because
They'll put
that's
Bowser
just
Jr.
unfair.
and there you go. There
Yeah,
you go.
literally, there better
They'll
be a
put
Bowser Jr.
in there.
and he's gonna have
That's it.
that paintbrush that he stole from Mickey.
Well,
And he's going to be voiced by Woody Nelson.
no.
oh my god.
But yeah, like
Oh my
it was
God,
cool seeing
that's
like all the
funny.
little different references. Like when he first got to the Mushroom Kingdom, him and Toad were walking through, which also Keegan-Michael Key as Toad was the best character. Absolutely
Loved it.
fantastic.
We're gonna forget an actor here and there, but it's important to point out there really isn't a bad performance in this movie. Like
Yeah, there's
there
really
are
not.
nothing but good performances. Like we're gonna forget somebody eventually,
Mhm.
but for real, there are just no bad performances.
Yeah, I gotta say that,
Not a single one.
I really was expecting, somebody to just kind of phone it in, because I wasn't expecting to be as blown away by every single voice, especially the fucking Luma star. Oh
God.
my god, that was the funniest fucking thing in the dungeon. Dude, it was so dark. It was just talking about, we're all gonna die. There's no
Yeah,
escape.
yeah.
Just the
How
sweet
do we
embrace
get
of
out
death.
here? Just this death's sweet calming embrace. Like
Dude,
in a
it's so funny.
kids movie.
And then,
So,
In a
can I
kids
actually-
movie, dog.
I
yeah.
actually have something I'd like to say. I feel like the reason why he got that characterization, so it's in Mario Galaxy, Lumas expand and explode to become planets. Maybe that's why he wanted to
That's
die so
dark.
badly.
Look at the end of the movie too. Like it has that little like post credits, or not really post credits, and like that mid credit moment
Yeah.
where he's like, oh, everything's happy except now the happiness is over, and it's just like, what the fuck?
The part at the end where they were raising the cages and they all weren't gonna
Yeah.
die, and it was like, boo. What the fuck?
Luma stole the show every time he was on screen, dude.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And there were also a lot of things I was really surprised by. Obviously we didn't see every character that ended up being in this movie. One of the ones that I think maybe probably again, I'm doing heavy air quotes here when I say this, the weakest performance was probably Fred Armisen, because I don't know about y'all, I didn't expect us to see Cranky Kong.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
did
expect
not.
that was a bit of surprise. I don't know that I don't know that his voice was quite deep enough, but I thought Fred Armisen still did a really, really good job as Cranky Kong.
Yeah.
But I love the reference to Diddy Kong right before.
That was so good.
That it was him. Who we say it was him? Dixie. Did we see Funky or no?
It's Funky. We did see Funky. That's a little moment. There was another one, Chunky from from Donkey Kong 64. He was there also.
So like I loved again just all of that. I think one of the funnier moments also in this is that, and this is where the Bowser kind of flips the script on his minions a little bit when they find out that he really stole the star to get Peach to marry him instead of to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. Like the reaction is just so authentic and exactly how they would all react. I loved also the little joke about, he knew what the Goombas were, he knew what the Koopas were, and he was like, whatever you are, and it points to yes. He's like, whatever you are. Like, and it's just, and then of course when it comes to Jack Black's performance, we can't not talk about Peaches. We can't we can't not talk about that. I mean, that's a banger. So much so that my boss, Noah McKay, if you follow him on Twitter, go give him shit about it. He is randomly, when we've gotten together since he saw it, he will randomly start singing that. It is the catchiest song that has been in a movie in a long, long time. So, Matt, what were some other standout moments from this movie for you?
Okay, we're going to start off with standout moments. Let me get started. All right, so
just fucking speak. He really just said, let's get started like 5 different ways. Just fucking talk.
The very beginning of the movie stands out because Super Mario Brothers 3 fans, anyone who's played the 2D side-scrolling games, Bowser's Battleship theme song. So that's how they start the movie off, is Bowser invading the ice castle for the penguins to get the Power Star. That alone, and just, we've already technically saw that scene because in the very first trailer we got the majority of that moment.
Yes.
Another standout moment, honestly, is Luigi in the forest. And one moment that it just pops in my head rent-free all the time is that scene when he's leaning up against the stone steps, the lightning flashes, and you just see a bunch of Shy Guys behind him.
That was terrifying.
Yeah,
that was terrifying.
I was not expecting to see Shy Guys, so thanks for adding that. The other moment for me that stands out is during the wedding reception, just going to keep it at that, is when King Bob-omb is just sitting there minding his own business.
King Bob-omb is just there.
Just sitting there. My man's get his fuse set on fire, so you know what happens to a Bob-omb when they, blow up. So yeah, he just kind of died, and that's it. So those 3 moments alone stand out for me.
I will say, in thinking about all that, one character that I wish, and maybe we'll see it, because I 100% think that Nintendo is setting up a cinematic universe with all of this. I don't believe this is a one-off. I believe there's going to be more. I was a little disappointed that there was no King Boo or anything, or there wasn't much. I was a little disappointed by that. Was hoping for maybe... Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe when Luigi first gets there, he's in those woods and he ends up running into that castle. I was thinking maybe it's King Boo that hands him over to Bowser, but King Boo just again doesn't really have any kind of a role, and that's a major Mario villain. So that was something. Again, maybe we'll see him, in a future movie, in a future installment. Because again, I don't think this is a one-off. Was anybody? So Kyle, I'm trying to think of the right way to ask this. I think that the most impressive thing about this movie, and I want to know if you agree, if y'all agree, the way that it incorporates maybe the different ways that we've viewed Mario games before. Because there were
Yes.
side-scrolling elements, there were more 3D elements like from 3D World or Odyssey. There was obviously the Mario Kart. Shut up, Matt. Matt's just throwing shade at Sunshine every chance he gets.
I hate you.
This is evil.
Red coins. That's all I have to say.
Oh my god, you are awful. But there, there's obviously the Mario Kart section as well. I feel like that's one of the most untalked about parts of this movie. I loved the cinematography, Kyle, and I feel
Yes.
like it's not getting talked about enough.
The visuals in this movie were so beyond impressive, and
Yes.
the way that they incorporated the references without, it was very subtle in some ways and very in your face in other ways. Like when, they're walking around the Mushroom Kingdom looking at all the shops, you obviously see like the antique items from the old side-scrolling games, and then, in other areas, like when Peach is first showing Mario that, like obstacle course, that's when we're first introduced to like, the question mark blocks and with the mushrooms and the fire flowers. But it was also really cool to see, them not just driving around in carts, but actually, you know, showing where in like say Mario Kart 8, I think is when it could have been in 7, but I think they implemented it in
talking
8.
about the anti-gravity
Yeah,
things?
where the wheels turn.
Mario 8. Yeah, Mario Kart 8.
It was so cool how they incorporated that, and even the paragliders. It was just every single part of this movie looked so good. And
You said all that. Can we please get a mention about their use of the damn blue shell?
I
It was
cannot
great.
believe the blue shell is just a turtle who
It was
just
so dumb,
kills
but I
himself.
loved it so
My
much.
man went to
That
Pearl
shit
Harbor.
was
I'll
so
just
funny,
say.
man. That man really said, "That's it, blue shell." And I was
That's
like, "There's no
my rage
way.
quit.
There's no way." Oh man,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like the best way to describe this movie is if you leave this movie without a smile on your face, I feel like you're just a miserable person. Like
Facts.
I don't want to be a dick, but man, I feel like if you left this unhappy or you left this in a bad mood, man, you might need to go find a therapist to talk to or something because
Yeah.
there's just so much fun. Like, Matt, you talked about all the references. Didn't even mention that we got a Duck Hunt reference early on. We also got a Punch Out
that's
reference
true.
very, very early on.
Yup.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the references, and I will say the most perfect thing about this movie, the length. The length was absolutely
Yes.
flawless. An hour and 30 minutes for this movie, perfect. If it had gone 30 minutes longer to 2 hours, probably would have been a little bit dragging
Yeah.
at that point. But I feel like that was the perfect length. And again, the really like the biggest criticisms are very, very, very minor. Because this movie is just so much fun. Like, this is a movie I'll
Right.
for sure go see again at some point.
Same.
And
Oh, yeah, same.
as a steelbook fiend, I will 100% be buying whatever steelbook Best Buy gets.
Yeah.
Like, this movie was awesome. I can already tell you, and I know that we've still got a couple Marvel movies that have come out, and those are primarily, I know, what we go see. And we've still got Guardians of the Galaxy, we've still got the Marvels, and there's obviously other movies that we'll go see. Flashpoint as well, that we're going to go see, that we're all excited for. But I feel like there's a really good chance that I look back on the movies that I see this year, and this is probably my favorite. Just because of how much fun it was. Like, I've not had this much fun at the movies in a long time. And again, as a Marvel fan, that really says something about recent Marvel releases that I haven't had as much fun as the Super Mario movie. So, fellas, any closing thoughts before we call it an episode?
Yeah, I have one. When we were talking about voice actors, we also have to give a shout out to Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, but not in this movie.
Yeah.
But he did get to play Mario's dad and the original Jumpman, so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
More Mario Sunshine. That's how you get better ratings. If you want the critics to like the next movie, make it all about Mario Sunshine. Title it Mario Sunshine. Make the entire plot a animated Illumination version of the Mario Sunshine game. It's the only way to do it. That or Luigi's Mansion movie. There's the only two options. Give us what we want.
I'm speaking for the entire fan base right now. I love it. I'm all in. If they were to do a Luigi's Mansion movie, I would be all in if Charlie Day is coming back. I would be
That'd be
all
so
in on
cool.
that. That would be awesome. So my last question for y'all is, again, let's assume that Nintendo's obviously got a long-term plan here to create more of a cinematic universe. What do we think is next, and what would y'all like to be next? And now, Kyle, I know you've said what you don't want, even though I think that statistically speaking, it's probably the most likely one to come next. But what is the next Nintendo property of all their major properties, their major first party properties? What's the next one y'all would like to see maybe get a movie like this?
You know,
Splatoon.
I hate you.
Yeah, well,
Just play.
I don't hate that though. Actually don't hate that. Like, Matt, are you being serious that a Splatoon movie is what you'd want to see?
I think it'd be incredible, but I mean, I know Kyle's answer. I just didn't want to take it from him.
Well, I know what Kyle doesn't want. I know what he doesn't want because
Yeah.
he's said it multiple times. But
I'll just
I'll
say-
let Kyle give his answer here.
I'll just say Metroid.
I
Metroid
think a
would be
Metroid,
good. Metroid would be really
Metroid
good.
Prime movie would be off the chain, and I would love that.
Mhm.
I
Yes,
would
That's
absolutely
my
watch
final
that.
answer.
So it's not really a Nintendo property, but obviously Mario's biggest rival, Sonic. And Netflix has already done Sonic Prime, where they've introduced multiple universes within the Sonic universe. It's already set up for us to have a Mario vs. Sonic movie. I think
Super
that
Smash Brothers?
you leave the live action as it is. Don't incorporate that. Do it, because the Sonic Prime show is animated. You can incorporate that version of Sonic, just the animated. I know this. It's weird that we have 40 different Sonic voice actors, like one for the game, one for the live action movies, and one for the show. But I think it would be cool to see, a Mario versus Sonic movie. It's classic. The amount of references you could put in there from, just the entire history between Sega and Nintendo, I think. Also, don't do Legend of Zelda, please. Don't.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you that
No.
statistically that is the most likely. Now, here's the thing. I can understand from your point of view why you wouldn't want that,
Yeah.
because obviously Link doesn't talk, and that's like the big thing is, you would essentially have a silent protagonist. I will say, given the same resources this movie had, I think a Legend of Zelda movie, regardless of the universe it's set in or the game that it's modeled after,
Yeah.
I feel like it could be really damn good.
It
Yeah.
could
I do want to
be.
say that.
It could be. Oh man, that
I don't
is.
blame you for being hesitant. I don't blame you for being hesitant.
Yeah, it would. Man, they would really have to convince me because, I would absolutely love to see, a Legend of Zelda movie with this kind of quality, with the amount of references in there. I mean, the characters you could pull from so many different games, but the biggest problem is Link, because every other character talks and you could cast them all and it'd be fine. But Link, dude, I mean, if I woke up one day and saw Chris Pratt is now going to be voicing Link in the new Legend of Zelda movie, I'd be done. I'd say, all right, Nintendo, that's it.
That's fair. That would certainly be an interesting hurdle they'd have to get over. I don't know how they would do it either. Like that is a hurdle, and thank God we're not paid to do anything like that. 'Cause I could figure that out. I'm going to give y'all one that might seem a little bit off the wall, and it's a property that Nintendo I feel has really disrespected as of late, and I keep holding out that eventually we'll get a new game in this franchise. Give me a Star Fox movie.
Oh, Starfax.
Like, give me a Star Fox movie for real. And by Nintendo, if you never hear this, give us a new Star Fox game already. We're tired of waiting.
Yep, true.
Give us a
Wii U
new
game
Star Fox game. We love Mario. We love Zelda. At least these two do. I'm not a big Zelda fan, but I'm still going to play the shit out of Tears of the Kingdom. And obviously, like I love Pokemon. Like we love these big franchises. Give Star Fox the same kind of love you've given Kirby recently.
Yes.
Give it that same kind of love and give us a new game. And I think a Star Fox movie, again, with the right cast, with these resources, I feel like it would be awesome. I'm with Matt also on Metroid Prime. I feel like a Metroid Prime movie would be awesome.
I just thought of something.
Brie Larson wants to play Samus.
No.
Well,
Anyways,
she doesn't talk, so I'd be okay with that.
so Kirby had a TV show back in the day on Kids
Right back at
WB.
you.
Yes, and it was one of the greatest video game animated adaptations ever, until Mario, of course. But Kirby was a silent protagonist the entire show.
Was.
It can be done, except Kirby does make noises here and there. But I mean, technically, so does Link when he swings his sword.
He kind of just
So
grunts, yeah.
Yeah.
like it can't, because that show was absolutely beloved, and it could be done. I think it could be done if they still did a Legend of Zelda movie where Link was a silent protagonist. It could be done because Kirby was done, and it went on for a couple of seasons. It was multiple episodes silent protagonist. I think they could
Do
pull
you
it off.
think? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think about it. Do you think that there is a chance that they maybe? I don't think they'll redo it at all because they've already the movie's already been out for a while now. Do you think they find a way to maybe tie Detective Pikachu into all this as well?
I was thinking that they may, introduce Pokemon at some point because it is obviously their biggest franchise, and
The biggest franchise in entertainment,
yeah.
period. Yeah.
I think it would be kind of cool to see them come in. Honestly, I think we are getting a cinematic universe when it's going to be like just all of Nintendo's properties, but they need to do it like
with
this.
it, to be honest.
Yes, I want it done like this. They need to not get sloppy with it and just start pumping them out.
Yeah.
If it takes a couple of years for each movie, and you need these people who worked on the games to work very closely with the studios making the movies, so be it. Because look at what Shigeru Miyamoto working on Mario did for this movie. I think the money it made speaks for itself in saying that
Oh yeah.
it paid off. If they could do that with all of their properties, I'd absolutely go and see every single one.
This could rival the MCU, the DC, the
Big
new
facts.
DC cinematic universe. It could rival that because box office wise, the Super Mario Brothers movie has done really, really well
Yes, it did.
for an animated movie, especially from Illumination, who Illumination has had a really rough run as of late. That's really impressive. So
I can't believe this beat out Frozen 2.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know. Frozen 2 had a big release.
Yeah,
too.
that was the biggest.
Mhm.
This beat out the biggest Disney movie ever. That says something.
100% it does. So,
Yeah.
fellas, I think that's a good place to go ahead and call this an episode. So that'll do it for this episode of Side Mission. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can check us out on Facebook at Side Mission Podcast as well. And don't worry, folks, for anyone that has had their questions out there, yes, Thacker is still a part of Side Mission. Yes, he will be back soon. So, for the boys, for Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening. And go Vols.